Hey everyone, I've got a quick game for you today, and as you may be aware, it's the Chess World Cup, and I've got a game here between Ding Liren and Shaun Press. Now, Ding is rated 2800, and Shaun Press is actually a 1950 rated player. I believe he qualified from the Oceania region. So this is quite a mismatch between these two players, but we still had quite an interesting game. And this game is just a demonstration of how really strong players deal with players who are not quite at their level. Ding won the first game, and in the second game he plays white, Shaun presses black, Ding plays c4, Press plays knight to f6, knight c3 is played, e6, and Ding plays e4, and d5 now from black, and this is the normal move. And if white here continued c takes d5, play would continue e takes d5, and this is actually the main moves. After e5, black plays knight to e4, white plays knight to f3, and after bishop to f5, white can opt to play d3, black can take on c3. After recaptures the c5 d4, we get into this sort of setup where it's pretty much equal for both sides. Black's got a very nice white squared bishop though, so I'm not really sure white would go in for this. I don't think he's got favourable options here. In the game anyway though, Ding played e5 anyway, hitting the knight on f6, and there's two main options here. Press actually played an unusual move. The main move here is actually to play d4, and what will happen is white will take the knight, black will take that knight. After b takes c3, queen takes c3, d4. White's got a doubled c pawn, interesting structure in the centre, but also has an open b file for the rook. So these exchanges are sort of unbalanced the position. This would make an interesting game. But Press didn't do that. As soon as e5 was played, he played knight to d7, attacking the pawn on e5. Ding played d4 to protect it, and black took on c4 with the pawn. The bishop recaptured, and black played knight to b6. So hits the bishop on c4, and Ding just drops it back to d3. And of course you've all seen this move. If queen takes d4, there's bishop b5 check, and white will win the queen, and that'll be game over. So black's got to watch out for these little tactics, but again, he's a 1954 rated player, very strong, and frankly beating anyone over 1800 can be a difficult task depending on the position. Anyway, black played c5 in this position, so trying to strike out in the centre. Ding took the pawn, d takes c5, and now bishop takes c5, so black's developing at a rapid rate. White plays knight to f3, black plays knight to c6, and Ding castles. So this is all very standard stuff at the moment. White's just developing their pieces normally. So we're just getting into middle game where Ding's knowledge of the game should make the difference. But here black comes up with a problem. And the problem is that black can't actually castle in this position. For instance, if black continues castles, this is what's known as the Greek gift sacrifice. Bishop takes h7 can be played with check. So if the king goes to h8, what does white do? Well, white can just simply drop their bishop back to d3, and we'll prepare the move knight g5 followed by queen h5, and this is just an easy win for white. Obviously the computer's giving me moves like bishop to e7, but then queen e2, and the same idea applies. White's just going to try and get the queen into the position and checkmate the black king. And at the end of the day, even if this fails, white's just won a free pawn and has an excellent position. But also after bishop takes h7, if the king recaptures, black could be in some difficulties. The follow-up move is knight to g5, and if king g8, then queen h5, and threatening queen to h7 checkmate. If rook e8, there's a mate in 5. Queen takes f7, king h8, queen h5, king g8, queen h7, king f8, check, and king e7 is forced, and queen takes g7 is checkmate. So if the Greek gift sacrifice happens, knight g5 check, maybe king g6 can also be played, but usually here white will play queen to g4, but in this position there's no c pawn, so actually white can play the nice move queen c2 check. After f5, e takes f5 is check from the queen, the king recaptures, and white can play knight to e4, and we'll win a bishop. So king g6, check, rook f5 and g4, Black's busted and could resign this game. So Black can't castle in this position, and I believe Shaun Press obviously saw this because he played the move h6 now, and this stops the Greek gift sacrifice. But Ding just continued normally. He played Queen c2, preparing the move Rook d1 on this d file. So what happens if Black castles in this position? Well, actually White's also got a nice Queen e4 here. So Queen e2 also threatens this move, and again this is really terrible for Black. For instance, if g6, just bishop takes h6. So Queen e2 is a very clever move, and again Black's got a problem developing, and this is what Ding does, just poses Black a few problems. And in the game, Press played bishop to d7 in this position. So he's not castling just yet. a3 from Ding to stop any knight b4s and hitting this bishop on d3. Black played knight to d5, and Ding played knight to e4, so hitting the bishop. The bishop retreats back to e7, a very safe square, and Ding progresses on the king's side with b4, preparing bishop b2 and maybe b5. Black played queen to b8, attacking this pawn on e5, and Ding defends with the bishop. Black played knight to f4, so trying to get rid of this bishop on d3, a powerful piece for White. Queen e3 is played, and Black takes the bishop, the queen recaptures, and again we're at a crossroads for Black. The computer suggests a6 was probably the best move for Black in this position, but it's still pretty terrible for Black, to be honest. After rook a d1 hitting the bishop, queen c7 defends, but White can play knight to d6 with check, king f8 and just take the pawn on b7, and White's in a vastly superior position. But in this position, Shaun Press decided to press on with his development. He castled finally. Sorry for that absolutely terrible pun. But here he runs into a problem. The tactic that he was going for was maybe if Ding takes on d7 with the queen, he would play rook to d8 and win the queen. Play would continue rook fd1, takes the queen, rook takes and queen e8. White can play rook a d1, and after rook d8 takes, so White's got two pieces for the queen, but Black is in a much better position, and this is what Black may have been going for. But I think Black knew that Ding would never take that bishop. It was just so he could castle and develop, to be honest. However, after castling, his move succumbs to the tactic of b5 from White, hitting the knight, which is protecting this bishop on e7. So after Black plays, say, knight to a5, the queen can just recapture the bishop on d7, and White's just a clear piece up, and it's game over against a 2-800 player. After b5, the best move given was actually rook to d8, but still this is game over. B takes the knight, bishop takes, and queen e3. White's again just a clear piece up, and Black can resign. So nothing major happened really in this game, but it's just a really nice demonstration of how to control the position. And in this position after White castles, I don't know if it's his opening theory, but suddenly Black finds himself in a terrible position, just 10 moves in. And it's just a great example of positional knowledge and just keeping your opponent under pressure, and Ding played this superbly and was into the next round of the World Cup. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this quick analysis of this game. Please drop me a like, comment or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll hopefully post some more AlphaZero games and some other World Cup games very soon. See you next time.